So I'm sitting in my chair in the living room and it's early in the morning and nobody else was awake. And I wanted to get out the Bible. I wanted to put on songs, but I just really felt that I just needed to sit there in the quiet. And I'm guessing it was just so quiet. Maybe it's never been that quiet and I've never been that still, but it was so clear that the Lord said, I love you and I've always been here. And it was so clear because I remember looking around. What is happening? Like,
Wow.
I know that God has always been speaking, but there was something about the clarity and in the way that I heard it. And I knew right away, like, oh my gosh, that's the Lord talking.
Hey, Mama. Welcome to Revival Mom Podcast, where we're growing closer to God, learning to stand on His truth, and walking in our authority as moms through Jesus. I believe that revival starts with moms knowing who God is and who they are in Him. This overflows onto our children, creating a generation of kingdom warriors that are on the winning side. Amen? A generation who loves God, seeks Him, and changes this world. If you're in for a warm cup of coffee or tea, grabbing a quick workout or a deep conversation and ready to be bold in your faith, hearing from God more clearly and seeing revival in your home and community, you're in the right place. It's time to connect with God and be courageous so we can walk in victory. You ready? Let's go. Revival Moms, welcome back to the podcast. Today is just someone so amazing. She was part of just seeing Revival Mom start and just be ignited. And God just spoke through her so many times to me. And so I'm just so excited to have her here. Today, I have with me Sabrina Hammonds, and she is a prophetic visibility strategist and host of Kingdom Connections podcast. She partners with transformational leaders who are operating at the six-figure level. And through Kingdom Connections podcast and media agency, she provides executive level strategic partnerships for established leaders whose calling demands sophisticated visibility and who are surrendered to doing things the Lord's way. When leaders partner with surrendered hearts, breakthrough happens. Her clients don't just get visible, they steward their influence and step into the kingdom impact their message deserves. Sabrina, that introduction is bomb. Let me tell you, like, that is amazing. That's exactly what Sabrina does, by the way. So, Sabrina, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. I am excited to be here.
Oh my goodness. I know today is just going to be an amazing conversation. And I kind of, preluded to it, but just how you were such a catalyst here. But what I really want to talk about and why I brought you on is because when you shared with me, you're like, Alyssa, like this vision he's given you, like that's what he's been doing in my home. And so I want you just to share about you, about what that looked like and how you kind of got to that point where you were just like, whoa, God is doing something.
Yeah, so I think it really started with a time in our life when I was trying to figure out how to disciple my own kids. Like, I just felt like we needed to do more in our home.
Mm.
And so I bought another devotional book. Honestly, I was pretty irritated with my husband because I was just like, why are we not
Mm.
doing more? Like, and so it came really just frustration. And okay, we're going to start this book. So it's like I just gave him the book, let's start doing these devotions. And so it really wasn't from a place of like, I just really love the Lord and I want my kids to also. It was like, we need the Bible in our home, right?
Yeah.
So let's figure out how we can do this. And so I was just trying to figure out what devotion do we need to buy and what does this look like? And I was trying to force these things into our home in a way that didn't feel natural to any of us. And I know my frustration was felt by my husband, just wanting him to take the lead and figure all of this out,
Yeah.
right? And the Lord spoke to me one morning and he said, "What about devotional life?
Mm.
What about our relationship? And I didn't hear it in a way that like was condemning. Like I didn't feel like he was pointing the finger, but it was like an invitation.
Mm.
Like what about our time? And what
Wow.
does that look like? What does your pursuit look like in our, time together? And I didn't have any words.
Wow.
I just kind of sat there and took that in for a moment, and I just reflected and realized that I was trying to give my kids this desire for the Lord and this hunger for him, and I wanted them to run after him. I wanted them to know him, and but that really wasn't my life, but I wanted it to be theirs, and
Wow.
then maybe it would be mine too, I guess. And but when I sat there, I realized that God was just saying, why don't we just start?"
Mm. Mm.
And I felt like he was just asking me to lay all of that down. Like, I mean, he was revealing to me what I already knew anyway, that this wasn't working.
Right?
I was
Yep.
trying to force things on my kids and force the Bible down their throat, and
Mm.
it was uncomfortable for like it was awkward. It was just like, we're going to do this.
Mm.
And
Yep.
it felt very forced. And I didn't understand why God would want me to lay down family devotions though. Like that we got to do that, right? But I felt like he was just saying, I want you to just release all of that.
Mm.
I want you just to lay all of that down. And so that's really where it started.
Yeah.
And that was a few years ago, probably 5, more than 5 years ago.
Wow.
And yeah,
That's amazing. I didn't realize it was that long ago that happened and that God kind of started you on that journey then.
yeah,
But one thing that you said that I kind of wanted to dig into is this desire that we have as moms, right? You're like, I wanted them to have the desire to know the Lord. I wanted them to run after the Lord, but I wasn't even really doing that. And like there's this desire comes like because we know when they do follow the Lord, like just how beautiful their life
mhm,
can be.
yeah,
But then we're trying to find all these different ways to do it when we're not doing what we want to see them do. Like,
huh?
what? I don't even know like the question to ask, but like, how do we, one, even recognize that, but also like move past that? Because I don't even know if we recognize it sometimes. Like, did you recognize that that was what was happening?
I mean, when I had that moment where I knew what the Lord he was telling me to lay all of that down,
Yeah.
I just realized I don't know how to do this because I don't know what this is supposed to look like, but I know we're supposed to be in the Bible, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I knew what I had been doing in my own life, which is I feel like I was really just going through the motions, but it wasn't this desire, like, "I long to be with you.
Mm.
I I can't wait to open up the word and spend time with you." No, it was, "This is what we do because I know this is what I need to do."
Mm.
But it was like I didn't know how to get past that going through the motions,
Yeah.
but looking back, I realized I didn't understand what relationship with the Lord was. Like,
Mhm.
I didn't know I could sit with him and talk to him in real time and ask him questions, and
Mm.
he was gonna answer. Like, I didn't know there's this two-way communication that we can have,
Mm.
you know?
Yep.
And yeah, I thought when we're talking about relationship with the Lord, I really thought this is what everyone means. It means we read the Bible, we go to church, we say our prayers, we're memorizing scripture. Like that's what we're all talking about.
Well,
But I didn't realize that like I could get to know the Lord in a way that goes so far beyond the message I heard on Sunday or
wow.
the scripture that I read. Not to say that the word isn't powerful, but I I don't even know if I'm articulating it, but I felt like I've gotten to know the Lord as friend, as counselor, as like he's my father.
Yes.
I read about those things,
Yeah.
but I didn't know it for myself to where I can say, this is who he is to me.
Mhm.
And I wanted them to have all of the things that it
Right?
says in the Bible because this is what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't know how to give them what I didn't even have for myself.
Wow. So he took you from like that to-do list of like, this is
Yeah.
what we should be doing. And he brought you into this is how we have relationship. This is how
Yeah.
I want to be with you. How did what did God do? How did he like orchestrate this? Because I'm sure when you were like, I don't know any other way, Lord. Like I've been reading my Bible because that's what I know to do. I've been praying because that's what I know to do. We've been going to church because that's what I know to do. And then he's like, well, what about our time? Like what about your desire to like just be with me? How did that start to play out? Like what was it just like all of a sudden you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna desire you now, Lord," and like start reading my Bible because I want to like what did that look like? How did he walk you through that?
So, all around the same time that all of this took place was when I came home from teaching in 2020, and I had nothing but time on my hands. And so there was a moment, and I guess I really can't share unless I share this moment because it'll make sense, like how this all really played out. I was sitting in my living room, and this was after I just had this stirring, like, there's got to be more to life than this. Like, this is the life of the believer. Like, we just, I don't know how else to explain it except maybe there was like this dissatisfaction, or I believe God was stirring something within me, like,
Yeah.
I want you to know there's more because that's what I felt like. There's got to be more. So I'm sitting in my chair in the living room and it's early in the morning and nobody else was awake. And I wanted to get out the Bible. I wanted to put on songs, but I just really felt that I just needed to sit there in the quiet. And I didn't have questions. I didn't know what to say, but it was just something in me was just like, what else
Mm,
is there? And in that moment, I just heard the Lord so clearly, like, and I'm guessing it was just so quiet. Maybe it's never been that quiet, and I've never been that still, but it was so clear that the Lord said, I love you, and I've always been here.
mm.
And it was so clear because I remember looking around, what is happening? Like,
Wow.
I know that God has always been speaking, but there was something about the clarity and in the way that I heard it. It I know it was like never before because I just remember thinking, "Is that what is that you? Is that me?" I just was fumbling over my words, and I knew right away, like, "Oh my gosh, that's the Lord talking," and I just remember thinking to myself, like, "Have you always been here like this?"
Wow.
Like, you've been here the whole time? Like this? And I couldn't believe what was happening, and I'm sitting there and I just start bawling
Mm,
because in my head, I'm seeing these, like, flashbacks of, like, parts of my life where I was not walking with the Lord, and he was saying, "I was there then,
mm.
I was there then." Like, I saw moments of my life where I really was running from the Lord, like, in a
Yeah.
big way.
Wow.
I didn't want anybody to pray for me. I didn't wanna hear about him, like, he was showing me I I was there then.
Wow.
I was pursuing you then. So it was just like this waterfall of, like, love
Yeah.
that I could just and I was overwhelmed. And I don't know
Mm.
how nobody else was awake, but I feel like God just he made it to where we had this moment. And it was like he just washed over me with this love. And so all around the same time is when I'm like, we got to get it together in our house.
Yeah.
We gotta get the Bible in our kids.
Yep.
I gotta get this in there. So all around the same time is when this happened.
Wow.
So as you can imagine, it like wrecked me.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what was available.
Mm,
Yeah.
wow. It's so amazing because, like you said, it must have been like this stirring of like a desire that he had within you of there has to be something more, right? Like, is this really all that there is to being a Christian, to knowing you, Lord? And I think I had that same I had that same feeling at some point, and it wasn't a like what am I trying to say? It may have some stemmed from a dissatisfaction, like, in somewhere else, but I think for me, I was still like, "Lord, I know I love you, I know I believe in you, and I'm happy to do that, and is there more to it?" Almost, because
Yeah.
it wasn't like you were like, "Oh, Lord, this is dumb and blah, blah, like, why am I doing this?" It was for me, it came from a place of like, "I love you, and there has to be something else, right?" And for me, I remember it
Yeah.
being, like knowing Jesus said his believers would lay hands on the sick and they would be healed, that, they would cast out demons. It says, that his believers would do even more than he did. And like, hello, he raised people from the dead. But I was just like, I'm seeing this. I'm
Yeah.
not seeing you move in this way in my life. Like, what am I missing? And
Mhm.
and so this I wanna speak this to the moms listening right now, and then I want you to kinda speak to it as well. But you're here and you're listening to this. So there's a stirring there. I don't want you to
Yeah.
get like, "Oh my gosh, what if I don't have the desire? And what if God's, like God's not gonna show up. He's not stirring something in me." You're here. So he is
Yeah.
stirring something up in you. You're trying to learn, you're
Mm.
trying to seek him. And so don't what is it like don't feel like there's something else more that you have to do. Like when you
That's
truly
right.
say to him, Lord, I want to know you, like I
Yeah.
desire to know more of you, to know more of like what this looks like for me to actually follow you. He answers and he responds.
Yeah.
And so Sabrina, like what do you have to say to that? Like to the woman who's kind of like, I feel like I need that desire. I need that. What do you have to say to that?
I I think we can make it more complicated than it
Mhm.
really is.
Yeah.
And what I have found is that once I really did away with all of the checklist and this is what it has to look like. And I just got real honest with the Lord.
Mhm.
And I didn't even know that He could handle our honesty.
Yes. Yep.
Like, what if I came to Him and I'm just like, Lord, I don't even know how to do this.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it looks like. But what I know is that more is available and I want more of that.
Mm.
And I want to get to know you for real, like who you really are. And then, you know, maybe you do open up the Bible somewhere and you just start reading, and all of a sudden, God really is speaking to you. But it's not necessarily because you went through the motions, or I have to read this reading plan, or I have to do this devotional, or I have to be on my hands and knees in a posture with like I'm telling you, something really happens when we just go to the Lord as we are,
Yes.
and we're just honest about where we are. And even if I've said to the Lord before about this desire to read the word. And I've said out loud, God, I want to desire your word because I don't understand why I don't. I know who you are. I know what your word says. God, I want to desire
Mm.
you and your word. Like, that's honesty.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Lord has really responded
Mm.
to my honesty. And so I would say that's a great place to start.
Yes.
Just have an open and honest dialogue, whether you write it down, because sometimes I find I can be more honest if I write it down.
Yeah.
I can get all of my thoughts out there. And then I just sit with that for a minute, and invite the Lord to sit with me in this moment of like, I'm just being real.
Mhm.
And he will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, inviting
Yeah.
him into that space and into the real and raw, like, moments of what you're feeling. And the other day that you sharing this reminded me, my husband took the boys somewhere, and our puppy was home with me, and he was sleeping, and I was journaling, right, to the Lord, like, some things that I just had on my mind. And I was like, "Ah, Lord, I know I haven't read the word yet today, and so I should." And then I was like, "But I'm so tired, Lord, like, we hadn't been getting much sleep, and, we just had stuff going on." I was like, "But I'm just feeling really tired." And then it was almost like I was just like, "Why don't I just invite him into that?" I was like, "Lord, I
Mm.
just shared all this with you. I'm tired. I'm gonna take a nap. You're more than welcome to take a nap with me if you want." Like, I just brought him in to, like, take a nap with me. And the funny thing is, like, as I woke up from that nap, I heard, like, 12:15. And it wasn't the time, like, it was in the later afternoon. And so I started looking up, like, okay, verses 12:15, that type of thing. And it took me to Luke 12:15, and it wasn't the exact verse, but I always read kind of like the full passage. And it was like 2 verses before that. It was exactly what I had been talking to God about. Like, that answered what, I had been like, "Lord, like, I need to know what I'm supposed to speak about at these events. Like, what do you want me to say? Blah, blah, blah." And it was Luke 12:11 through 12, I think, where he basically says, he's like, "Don't worry about what you're going to say or how you're going to say it, because in that very hour, the set apart spirit will teach you what to say." And so I was just like,
Wow.
"Okay, Lord, like, that's awesome. Thank you." And so I love that you're saying, like, lay down the checklist, first of all, lay down, like, I should be
Mhm.
doing this, and then bring him into those real and raw, like, moments, because that gosh, that's just he wants to be in those moments. He wants to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like it just gives you the freedom to be with him as you are
Mm.
and not like I thought I couldn't just be with him until I had done these things. Like what you said, you hadn't read the Bible
Yep.
yet, but we can still be with him and he's pleased with us when we like before we've done anything.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that. I thought, well, surely I need to do these things before I can really just go to him
Mhm.
in prayer or but that's not it.
Yeah.
And so it has freed up like this pressure.
Mm.
There is no more pressure.
Yeah.
And I think it has allowed me to figure out what a relationship with God looks like because now I'm not trying to go through and do all of the things in order to have that relationship. Like there's freedom. There's freedom in it.
Wow, and isn't he the author of freedom? He's the one who sets the captives free, right? And
Yes.
wow, yeah, there is freedom when we can lay those things down and just be with him. I mean, reading our Bible is good, right? Like, that's how we know his word. And that's a lot of the
Yeah.
times, when you're like, "Oh, shoot, did I just hear the Lord?" Well, is it, can we look in the Bible and does it line up with his character and stuff like that? So yeah, it's good. And
Yeah.
um just having that relationship, like, how do you talk to your best friend? How do you talk to, your father? How do you talk to one of my mentors? I had never like envisioned God this way. I always saw him as like my father in heaven. Jesus, maybe like kind of as like my big brother, right? The big brother who gave it all for me. And I could envision that. But then she said, "We're the bride of Christ." How does a bride and
Mm.
groom act, a husband and wife? Like, and she brought this new level of just like, oh, so not only is it like my father and my friend or my counselor, like you said, but my husband, and like that intimacy that comes from being in a relationship with your spouse. And I don't know what my point was of that, but it was just so amazing to now see him in that light. And when we allow ourselves to see him in that light or to talk to him like he's our best friend, how things just shift and move. And now you're like, oh, he really is my best friend. He's here listening and talking back and, all those things. So
Yeah.
when you laid those things down, right? And he told you to stop doing family devotional and stuff like that. I mean, it's amazing when we can start to have that connection with the Lord. How did you start to share that with your family? And like, how have you seen that kind of overflow onto them?
So I didn't really know how to, I guess, articulate or talk to them about what was going on. I just really started spending time with the Lord, like setting aside time. And the kids would notice certain things. And then they would start saying things like the oldest, well, she's not our oldest, but I have 2 that are at home. So the oldest one at home would tell our younger one about mom and her Jesus time.
Mm.
Like, she would say things like that, like, "No, we need to wait because mom is having her Jesus time."
Wow.
You know, like, if I, because I would tell them, "I'm gonna be, in here, you can come in here, but mom is talking to the Lord." That I didn't really know, like, what to say or how to share it with them, but I just wanted them to know, "Hey, I'm just spending time with the Lord."
Mhm.
And so that's something that, like, they picked up on. And then he unlocked this thing with worship. Like, I am a very reserved person, you know? I'm just very quiet and very reserved, maybe not as much anymore,
Yeah.
but that's really who I was.
Mhm.
And I just began to engage in worship in a different way, like, over the years, to where it got to be more loud and, just with my body and with my voice, just loud.
Yeah.
And so I would do that in our house, sometimes in our yard. And so then I noticed my kids would start singing,
Yeah.
even when we didn't have music on. And our youngest even would start doing it at church,
Wow.
when honestly, it was still very uncomfortable for me, because God said, "I want you to bring this worship to the forefront, and even when you go to church." Because at that
Wow.
point, it was really just for me
Yep.
at home and the Lord. It was not for other people to see.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I just told him, I was like, "This is private. This is
Yes.
personal." Like, but he was like, "I want you to be willing to open up." And
Wow.
so as I did that, she was just right there alongside me, just worshiping too. And somebody even caught it. I think it was caught on film or something. And I went back and I watched it, and I was just like, and a part of me was like, "I can't believe you filmed that." But then the other part said, "I'm really glad I got to see,
Yeah.
what God is doing in her," because she was right there beside me and she didn't care
No.
who was watching and who wasn't. She was free.
Yeah.
She was free. And that is what has been happening. Now, at times, I think they have kinda looked at me like, "Is mom okay? Like, is she a little
Yeah.
crazy?" And when they kinda question things,
Yep.
I'm just like, "I don't know what to tell you. Like,
Yep.
I am out of my mind. Like, God has just done something crazy,
Yep.
and I don't know what's going on,
Yeah.
but I know that he's done something." And so even when I haven't had words, they'll look at me kinda funny,
Yep.
because maybe I'm worshiping really loudly in my office, or I am praying in my heavenly
Yep.
language, and it gets kind of loud.
Yep.
But then they start kind of doing
Yeah.
things. And even this year in particular, as my husband was going back to work, he shared this with me a week or so ago, and it just like, oh, it was just so precious. He said, "Bailey prayed over me when I tucked her into bed," because he was going to school the next day to work. And I think it was the first day his kids were coming back or whatever.
Yeah.
And he said, "She took my hands and she had me put my hands out in front of me, and she took hold of my hands and she prayed over." I
Wow.
was just like, that is just, and she
Wow.
just prayed over him. Like, I
Wow.
didn't tell her to do that.
Yeah.
He didn't tell her to do that. But she knew, like, this was a big day for him,
Yeah.
and she wanted to pray over him.
Wow.
Like, and that is just, that's the
It
overflow.
is.
Like, they're just watching, and I get so emotional about it because I'm like, that's what God was saying, like, "Why don't you just start
Yeah.
with you?"
Yes.
And it's really teaching me that they pick up on more. What is it? More is caught than
Yes.
taught.
Yep.
Like, you tried to shove the Bible down their throat
Yeah.
and they didn't really move,
Yep.
but yet you just let go of all of that and you just pursued me, and now they're just they're just walking in that overflow, and it's affecting them even when you don't realize it.
Mm, that is so beautiful. That is amazing. And gosh, just as moms, like, to see that because that is the fruit, right? It's like God
Yeah.
is, He's so good to give us those things that like our eyes can see, right? That are tangible. Because it's like,
Yes.
we know that, his word doesn't return void. We know that the things we're doing, like it's good. He wouldn't be having us, do it if it wasn't good. And we have this relationship with him and it's great. But then he's so good to give us those things that like are tangible, that our eyes can see, and that
Yes.
we can really see, okay, this is making a difference, Lord. This is
Yeah.
like she is starting to have that relationship that I desired
Yeah.
for her. She's starting to have that and she's starting to come to you. She knows that like I could give daddy a hug to try to make him feel better, but God is the one who, like can be with him as he goes to
Yeah.
school and all these things. And so that is just,
Yeah.
that is so powerful. And I think it's so important, mamas, to hear that like it wasn't because there was this big to do this, I have to be doing this
Uh-huh.
every single day with my kids. It's them seeing the worship, hearing, the heavenly language, hearing all those things. And they just seeing like, oh, this is what we do. This is how we have a relationship with
Mhm.
the Lord. Um,
Yeah.
that's just
And I do just wanna say, like, you talk about, like, the really like, this is really great and this is really beautiful, but I'm also reminded in this moment that, like, there's also the, like, I've still just lost it on my
right.
kids, you know?
Yeah. Here.
And there was a moment when I did, and I don't remember exactly what was going on, but there was some buildup or something, and I had just really had enough, and, I mean, I just went all dictator on my children in that moment, and I remember sitting on the couch, and I had finished yelling and everything, and I was just taking a moment, and my Bailey, she comes up and she sits next to me, and I think she says, "I hope this is okay to say," or something, or yeah, I hope this is okay to say. She turns to me and she said, "Mom, I think you need time with Jesus."
Yes.
And I'll just tell you, in that moment, I wasn't even ready to receive that. I
Yeah.
was still so fuming mad, but I just listened. And then later on, I realized that, I mean, she was
Yep.
right, but then my first instinct was like, is she being disrespectful? But I think she was genuinely,
Yeah. Yep.
she recognized that I was just,
Yep.
you know, and she just said, I think you need some time with Jesus.
Oh my
So
gosh. That
it's not necessarily that
no,
everything is gonna
no,
just be just so,
no.
but, and then I was able to go back to them and like ask the Lord, how do I how are we gonna make this okay?
Right.
Show me how to go back to them
Yep.
and mend this in a way that honors you.
Yeah.
But I mean, out of the mouth of my kid, I think you need to spend time with Jesus. So,
Yep. I've had that too. And, they really like, they see it because I was in the same situation, Sabrina, like, it had been a day. And I joke, I'm like, "If anyone saw me that day, no one would listen to a word of that I say." Like, it was that bad. It was like this raging lunatic, right? And, Paxton, he goes, "Mom, maybe you should ask Jesus for help." Like, you know? I probably should do that. Probably should have done it 3 hours ago, but I'm that
huh?
now. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that we're perfect, it doesn't mean any of those things, but, you know, They are watching, and then you going back. See, the beautiful thing though is I think we can sometimes beat ourselves up over those times where we lose it and
Mhm.
we're yelling and all of the things. But then
Yeah.
when we bring God back into it and we say, "How do we mend this?" It gets to show our children, like, we aren't perfect. It gets to show them how to
Mm-mm.
go back and mend those things, how to bring God into it and be like,
Mhm.
"That wasn't honoring to God, it was honoring to you, wasn't honoring to me, but let's make this right." And so it still is a teaching moment because they're going to have those moments when they're
Yeah.
older, right? And so God uses
Mhm.
everything for good, even our mommy meltdowns.
He does. He does for sure. And I think, again, it goes back to just where you are. Where are you? Go to God exactly where you
Yep.
are. So if it's in the moment of the meltdown, if it's sitting at the sink with the dishes, like it doesn't have to look one certain way.
Mhm. Yeah. I just, as a last question, because in the beginning, you mentioned just waking up and sitting in the quiet with the Lord. And like, that's when you really, heard him. And he's like, I love you. I've always been here. What about that mom? And I have someone just in mind who is like, I feel like I don't get a second. Like, I don't really have a great support system. I'm, at home with my kids all the time. Like, it feels like I'm always just doing, doing, doing. Like, how do I what if I feel like I can't find the time to just sit in the quiet and, like, listen for God to tell me something? Like, what advice do you have for her?
I think it could be as simple as waking up and just a good morning to the Lord. I invite you into this day. Like, yes, I realize my situation. I no longer have children in diapers. My youngest is 7.
Yep.
So I know that it can be super, super busy.
Yep.
And I don't always spend the time that I want in the mornings if something has happened or what have you. But I think we can have that time with God throughout the day.
Mm,
It could be the opening up your Bible with the kid
yep.
next to you on the bed or multiple children, whatever that looks like. And maybe you're reading out loud,
Yeah.
maybe you put on some music, in that moment as you're still waking up, or maybe they came in really early. That has happened before where I thought, okay, I am up so early. There's no way that anybody else is getting
Yeah.
up. Oh, I was wrong. So in they come, and I'm just like, instead of being frustrated,
Mm,
just like, okay, come on, get in,
yep.
crawl under the covers. I just can, try to continue.
Yep.
And so it may not always be that you have those moments or whatever when it's just you and the Lord, but maybe it's you and the Lord and your children.
Yep.
Maybe it's you while you're nursing a baby
Yep.
or you're feeding a bottle. You're feeding the kid that's spitting everything out in the high chair, and you're like, "Thank you, Lord, that we have an abundance of food,
Yes.
that this kid gets to just spit it out."
Yeah.
Like, look for those ways to, I think, engage with the Lord
Yeah.
and just remember that He is very present,
Yep.
even if we're not completely aware of it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord, that I get to load the dishwasher because we have a dishwasher.
Yes.
Things like that. So,
Yeah.
I don't think it has to look like an hour in the morning.
Right. That's so good.
Yeah. It looks like whatever season that you're in, I
Yes.
think, and you understand that
Yep.
because you do have little ones.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and I feel like we're just getting out of gosh, well, my youngest will be 4 in just, like, a couple weeks, and so, it kind of feels like, "Oh my gosh, what is this newfound freedom that I have?" You know?
Huh?
Oh, for 7 years, I was, nursing, changing diapers, like, co-sleeping, all the
Yeah.
things, and so, yeah, now it's kinda like, "Oh, what's this new" and then we got a puppy, and so he's been waking up at crazy hours, and I can't get my morning routine in anyway, but
Oh my goodness.
that's besides the point. It is, it finding that space and time, and I do say make it a priority, and it doesn't have to happen at the same time every single day. I've had it
Yeah,
like
that's good.
yep, where I've just, "Oh, okay, I have a couple of minutes." Things are quiet. I could go do the dishes. I could go switch over the laundry, but Lord, I miss you. I wanna be with you right now. So it's like 10 minutes in his word or 10 minutes, in worship or something like that, and it's just making it a priority because I know that those 10 minutes with
Mm.
him are going to do so much more for me than going to switch over the laundry or getting the sink cleaned out at that time, right? Because I know it's going to get done.
You're
It's
right.
going to get done some other
Mhm.
time. Sometimes, I will be honest, it's more beneficial for my mental, clarity to get the dishes out of the sink. But I, it's he shows up, and when you do set that priority of like, I don't care when it happens today, but I am going to connect with him in this way, at
Yeah.
least for a little bit. He shows up and like things just go smoother. I still get the things done
Mhm.
that I had on my list, but I also got time with the Lord. And so have you noticed that at all, Sabrina? Like,
That even if it's not the ideal, time or whatever
yeah.
that we might say, that yes, like, there's something about just acknowledging his presence,
Mm,
and sometimes for me, it's as simple as taking a moment to breathe,
mm, yep.
to take some deep breaths, and I have had to do that in, like, intense moments, so maybe it wasn't like I'm prioritizing time with the Lord,
Yeah.
but in this moment where my emotions are really high,
Mm,
I need God's presence so that I can then make better decisions about how I handle this elevated situation in my home,
yeah.
AKA a tantrum.
Right.
So, and I've done that literally in the middle of the kitchen while the kid is screaming on the other side of me, and I'll even say out loud, "Mommy needs to take some deep breaths and talk to Jesus."
Yeah.
You know? And so sometimes it's just he's as close as the breath,
Mm,
right?
mhm,
As the air that we breathe,
yeah.
and it shifts something in us.
Yeah.
And so even if you prioritize a few minutes to sit in his presence,
Mm,
it really does shift things
yeah.
for us on the inside, and then we begin to shift the atmosphere around us.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's really good. I love that. And so, Sabrina, where can because first of all, I know that every woman on here can like feel, if you're not sure what you're feeling, it's the grace that like Sabrina, you just carry like this grace and this like mercy and just peace that is palpable. And so, guys, like I know they want to come and, like, connect with you somehow, because let me tell you, yes, I in her introduction, we shared about her helping people get their message out and stuff like that, and so if you have a message that's burning inside of you, you definitely want to connect with her, but even just as a mom, first of all, we all have a message. And so, just as a mom, I love reading your posts, Sabrina, and just seeing what you do because it always is just, it connects, right? Because you are in this place of
Mm.
motherhood, you are in this place of seeing God move. And so, I know that women will just want to connect with you. So, where can they come to connect with you? I know you have your podcast, but share other things they can do too.
Yeah, the Kingdom Connections podcast and also just Facebook,
Yeah.
Sabrina Hammonds.
Yeah.
So you can just reach out in real time.
Awesome. I love it, and you guys, you will love the things that she posts, and because she is just a beautiful relationship with the Lord, and she's vulnerable, she's authentic and vulnerable, and so that is always just beautiful. So, Sabrina, thank you so much for being here, for sharing what God has done in your life and in your family, and just how when you said yes to Him, even though it didn't quite fit what you thought, He just showed up and there was this overflow onto your family. So, thank you for sharing all that with us.
Thank you so much, Alyssa, for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, Revival Moms, we will see you next time. Before you go, thank you for listening to the podcast. If it has blessed you in any way, the number one way you can thank me is to leave a review on Apple Podcast. I love hearing from you and seeing how this show has impacted your life. Second thing, take a screenshot of this episode or your review and share it on your Instagram story, and I'll share you on mine. Together, we're the spark of